Hey folks, Palanthis here. Today we're going to be taking a look at how to use a Reborn OS base install along with OpenBox, which is personally my favorite window manager and hackable desktop environment, along with Xfce because Xfce includes a lot of components that make life with OpenBox a little easier. Even if you never actually log into Xfce, I just find it easier than pulling in components piecemeal. So here we go, and let's get started. Okay, here we go. By the way, to save a lot of time so the video is not super long with a bunch of uninteresting stuff like watching things boot up or watching file copy progress and all that stuff, I will be skipping ahead through any of that kind of tedious stuff that if you're watching this video wanting to mess around with OpenBox, you should already know this stuff. So I've booted to the Reborn OS ISO, doing this in a virtual machine, but this works the same on bare metal installs. So we've booted up to the live environment, and we're going to go ahead and choose Install It. And most of these defaults are going to be just fine for us. And here's the first thing we want to choose if we're following along exactly. We want a base install, which really includes nothing other than the additional Reborn repositories, and that's it. And we don't need AUR support, an LTS kernel, or printing support, because any of that stuff that we care about, the scripts that we're going to be running in the next section, are going to take care of those things for us. Always let Xfce sort the mirror list, especially now with some global mirrors up and running. It's always going to find the fastest mirrors for you, even geographically. And I'm going to choose exactly where it should go because I don't want a swap partition, because one of the scripts we're going to be looking at actually sets up a swap file for you, which then you don't have a whole partition of disk dedicated to a function that on a lot of modern computers doesn't even get used. So we're going to go with a swap file. And here we go, ranking mirrors. Okay, and mirrors ranked. So what we're going to do for this, as I said, this is in a VM, so I don't have it configured for UEFI. The only thing you would want to change if you are doing this on an actual system with UEFI BIOS is just this FAT32 partition. Mount it to boot EFI rather than /boot, and that's all you got to do. And this one we're going to mount to root. And you'll notice it's saying we haven't created any swap space yet. That's fine. We're going to do that later, like I said, with the swap file. So for now, just continue. It won't stop you from installing. And yes, that's what we want. Yes, I want to continue. And let's make an account real quick. And there we go. Installing. So we'll pick back up as soon as this finishes. Okay, so we finished installing. We will go ahead and tell it, yes, we want to reboot now, and as soon as this boots back up, we'll pick up the video. Okay, so here we go, all booted up. Let's log into the new system. And the first thing we need to do to work with these scripts is install git. Okay, now we are going to git clone Oop, that doesn't go there. OpenBox, so that's https github.com/palanthis/reborn-openbox. The capitalization on Palanthis does matter. If you put it lowercase, it will ask you for a password, which I'm not going to share with you, so make sure you type it as uppercase there. Okay, there we go. So now we change directory into it. We make all of the shell scripts executable. spelling counts. And there we can see that all of these files are now executable. And in just a second here, we will start running them and start building our custom OpenBox Xfce environment. Okay, so we can start, and we just run these in order. Actually, let's take a second and look at them before we start running them. You'll see there's 001 install network, 2 install xorg, Yowert, OpenBox, etc., etc. When you get to 008 and 009, you'll notice that they are prefixed with su. That means that those two scripts are doing something that sudo is not enough for, so you need to su to root and then run the script, and then after you've run those two, you can exit back out of root, and then it'll be time to reboot. So just a note on how those scripts run. So pulling in all of our network components, network manager applet. Also going to auto start network manager service. So this one shouldn't be too lengthy. Okay, there we go. So now a note on 002 xorg. We do need to nano it first, because you will see in here all of the drivers for various video cards are commented out. We've got one for NVIDIA, one for the NVIDIA 340 branch, one for VirtualBox, which is what we'll be using today, and one for Intel integrated video. So once we've edited it, to save it, it's Control-O, Enter to keep the name, and Control-X. Now we can go ahead and run 002. And this one takes a minute, so we'll be right back. Okay, video finished installing, and let's do 003. This will install Yart, PAMIC, and package query, so this will just be a few minutes. Alright, PAMIC and those associated things are done. Now we will do OpenBox and SDDM. If you want and you know what you're doing, you can edit this shell script and change SDDM for LightDM or whatever you want. I like SDDM. Okay, and that one's finished. And if you see a little bit up from the current prompt, created symlink, Etsy system to use system display manager. So that script also went in and made sure that SDDM automatically starts for us, so that we will have a graphical login after we're done here. Install sound, this one's really quick. Install fonts and themes. You can consider this script optional. I personally like it. It pulls in some of my favorite fonts and themes and icons and whatnot. I like them. If you don't run it. But if you don't run it, when we get to the optional script at the end that customizes your OpenBox layout so you're not just left with a gray useless screen, you need to run this, or all of the fonts and themes will be broken because they refer to things that aren't there. And I promise, it's not a ton. It's like 2 fonts, 1 theme. That's it. Install apps. Consider this one optional. These are just apps that I always put on any Reborn OpenBox Xfce setup. Some file editors, torrent client, Chromium, and the Widevine plugin for Chromium so that you can do important work like watching Netflix. Oh, and Conky, because Conky's cool. Okay, all done. That takes us to 008, and this might be, yes, this is the first of the SUs. So as I said, we SU, and now we can run it. Fix environment. All this does is it adds the comment QTQPA platform equals what have you, so that if you try to adjust your Qt settings, you don't get the message QTQPA platform not set. I got tired of fighting it, so I wrote a script to just fix it until they fix it in the actual code. And finally, su swap file. Let's take a look at this file real quick and I'll explain what it's doing. Okay, so first couple of lines, SETI, if there's an error, quit. Second line, echo, this just tells you it creates a swap file. Edit the script and set a custom file size, rather. Finally, read n1 srp. That simply gives you a prompt that says press enter to continue or control C to quit. So the first actual command, fallocate, will create a /swap file on the root with a size of 2048 megs or 2 gigs. So that creates our swap file. Next is chmod 600 swap file, sets permissions on the swap file so it's not globally readable. mkswap on the swap file applies a Linux swap format to that file. And finally, echo swap file none-swap default 00, redirect to Xfce fs tab, and the two arrows there tell it to add that to the end of the file, not overwrite the file with it, so it doesn't blow up your existing file system table. So that's all it does. Must be run as root. Okay, there we go. And that leaves us with 010, right? Yep, and that's post-install. So now we are going to reboot. And let me drop the scale factor down so it doesn't blow up on us. Takes just a second here. Alright, there we go. Default session is OpenBox. It knows who I am. Let's log in. And voila. This is OpenBox for the uninitiated. Gray screen, nothing else, and a couple of menus that aren't particularly pretty or useful. So what are we going to do about it? Well, we're going to go to terminals, Xfce terminal for now. And we are going to go cd reborn OpenBox. We're going to run 010 post install. There are some commands in there that use sudo, so it wants our password. And we get an error on OB logout. Cool. Let's check into that and see what's going on. Okay, found the problem, and it has been fixed in the Git repository. I've been messing with this script for a couple of days now, tweaking this and that, and I had forgotten to put sudo on front of this very last line, tar xef ob logout to /etc, and all that does is puts a new ob logout conf so that your logout dialog is pretty. That's all it does. But I think we now need to remove that folder since it did create it the first time. There we go, error free. Alright, let's exit, log out, exit, and when we log back in, voila. We've got a wallpaper, we've got Tint 2 running, it's got a system tray, PAMAC is up there, Network Manager's up there, our custom fonts are set, our menu is set. This is a pipe menu with icons. So if you install software or remove software, this menu is automatically updated with any new or removed things, so you don't have to do ob menu regen to create a new one. We've got Genie installed, and that pulled in my custom settings for Genie. Our default for terminal should be there. Yep, Q terminal with the right transparency set. Our Qt settings should be already set over to GTK. Yep. So this is how I like my OpenBox Xfce setup. You're welcome to change it or do whatever you want, but this gets you to a working, functional, ready-to-use system so that you can start exploring OpenBox and see what makes it tick. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.